a related issue, and this is one of insurance, because I mean this is the myriad of problems that come with a poorly thought through rollout process. Farmers who adjoin a property in the King Valley area, so this is northeast Victoria, there's a $750 million solar farm planned to go in. It's proposed at this stage. And farmers that sit around this property say federal and state governments haven't listened enough to them. They are concerned about insurance. Their properties will be uninsurable if this goes ahead due to the extreme cost of covering accidental fires. Now, we know this is also an issue I've spoken to farmers about in relation to insuring their wind farms due to the proximity of wind farms, going to that point I made before about aerial firefighting near them. Now, if you can't insure your farm or your home, that's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable, and you're right to point this out. There's a couple of things, Peter. Firstly, these are the kinds of realities and practicalities of running a farm that the inner city ideologues just do not understand. The other point is that on a recent trip we had to the Western Districts of Victoria, we spoke with the CFA official who was raising these exact issues, also in relation to the transmission lines and the towers. I mean, these are massive towers. Anyone that's driven past these towers know how big they are. And what he put to us was that the firefighters would not be able to go in and fight a fire were it taking place in or around these massive transmission towers. Now, this is a huge fire risk in a part of the country that is bushfire prone, and heaven forbid anything happen, but we have to operate on the assumption that something will happen. These kind of practicalities just are not being taken into consideration. So in addition to being a massive food security problem, it is also a bushfire risk problem where we're just not going to be able to get on top of these fires, and they could cause a lot of damage.
Now, people know I've got family on the land in Victoria, and I'd heard all this anecdotal talk over the Christmas period about farmers they knew in their area that had to basically fire sale livestock because they looked at the weather forecast from the Bureau of Meteorology back in October. It was going to be a terrible summer. There wouldn't be enough feed around, possibly not even enough water. So everything went off to the sale yards and they got rock bottom prices. Well, that was just anecdotal. Today, we've got data out from Elders, the big agribusiness player, that's revealed the BOM, the Bureau of Meteorology's mistaken prediction of El Nino significantly impacted their earnings. Of course, as I say there, we had a whole lot of farmers panic sell livestock and the price of beef fell and other farm products fell as well. Surely when you look at this, when you get this empirical, fact-based data, Daniel, there's got to now be a proper review of the Bureau and their forecasting out of this.
Well, of course there should be, Peter. There's that issue that you identify. There's also the issue with their what's called homogenisation of historical temperature data, which basically has the effect of creating the impression that temperatures have risen faster and are higher than what may actually be the case. And we also know, Peter, that of course everybody makes mistakes, but there is a component of the Bureau which appears to be driven by ideology and by politics rather than by the facts on the ground. Australians should be able to have trust in the Bureau. It's been historically a critically important institution for our nation, especially for regions and for farmers. And I think a lot of people just don't understand that when there is a bad prediction, as you pointed out, it does have real world consequences, sometimes dramatic consequences for farmers and those on the ground, and often those in the inner cities just don't understand that.
What about this stuff out today from the Climate Council? So they don't just want the government to ban the sale of petrol cars and diesel cars in Australia by 2035. They don't just want us to drive electric vehicles only. They actually want us to throw away all cars, even including electric cars. They want to get us walking and cycling and using public transport. And they basically want to drive out vehicles altogether. Now, they're influential. They've got the ear of government. What do you think about this, Daniel Wild?
Well, they've got an all-access pass to Chris Bowen's office, I'm sure about that, and to Anthony Albanese, and this is concerning. And it's just another example of the attacks on the Australian way of life. You know, you have these inner-city ideologues, they go to Europe, they go to Amsterdam, and they say, oh, Australia should be like that. Well, we're not built like that. We're a different country. And it's an example of how they are imposing more intrusion on us. This is all what net zero looks like in practice, Peter. Like, we're talking about the transmission lines, And the wind turbines and the solar panels, it's the cars that you're allowed to drive, the food that you're allowed to eat, the houses you're allowed to live in, the extent to which you're allowed to travel on planes and go on holidays. This is what net zero does. It greatly empowers the central bureaucracy to make decisions about your life and about what you can do. And look, it just ignores any practical reality. Try being a plumber and getting from one job site to another on a bike or on a train. It just doesn't work. But unfortunately, like I say, they've got an all-access pass straight into the top of government.
Well, good on you for getting out of Melbourne, getting out to St Arnaud and talking to real people, because I think this is where the rubber hits the road. And I think this in part is why the polling shows that people are willing, even if they're not in love with the idea of nuclear, they are willing and wanting to have a rational national debate to avoid all the stuff you've just discussed. Daniel Wild, thank you